Hello again everyone, it's Mike and Ben from Revolution Trains here. We'd just like to give you a quick run through of where we're at on various existing projects and a bit of information and a few teasers about some new projects that we've got underway. So we'll start off by just going through quite quickly where we're at on the existing projects. You can find all this information on our website. If you just click on projects on our website, you should get a table overview of all the existing projects with all the information, or a summary of all the information that we have, including any estimated delivery dates where we have it. It's important to say that, particularly in these COVID times, that estimates are exactly that, they're estimates. We try to keep it as up to date as possible, but things do change, and particularly if we have to correct things, that can take longer than originally anticipated. Anyway, let's kick off. So probably the longest project still on our books is the Class 320 and 321 electric multiple unit. So those are in production at the moment, and they're coming to the sort of final stages of production, and we hope that they will be leaving the factory certainly within the next couple of months. We're just waiting for sort of final confirmation from the factory as to where they're at in the final production stages. Followed after that is our friends at Sonic Models, the 56XX GWR 062 tank engine. They are literally in the final part of production, and we were asked recently how we wanted them to be shipped. So we've specified that they're going to come by boat. As soon as they're on board a boat, we'll let people know which boat they're on, so that people can follow progress, and hopefully it doesn't end up in the Suez Canal. After that, our Class 128 parcels unit, the order book opened for that relatively recently, and sales of that have been incredibly good. So much so that tooling has gone incredibly well, and we hope to have the first samples of those very, very quickly. After that, we can actually show you some progress of the next project, which is the Mark V coaches, which perhaps I'll hand over to Ben for.
Yeah, so the Mark V coaches, there are two different types that we're doing. We're doing the Caledonian Sleeper, 4 different vehicles, a seated car, a club car, an accessible sleeper and a standard sleeper, and then the Mark V Transparent Express push-pull sets that operate with Class 68. There you've got a driving trailer, you've got a T2 car which has bicycle storage, T3 cars which are the standard open trailers, and then a T1 car which is a first class or a first class composite, but at the inner end it doesn't have a gangway because that obviously couples up to the locomotive. And we've got all these types here. We just had the engineering prototype samples. They've been in for a couple of weeks now. We've assessed them, we've sent feedback on those, and the next stage is the decorated samples. That is all these vehicles, all in the liveries that they're going to be in, and we're expecting those sometime around the end of July, first couple of weeks in August, that sort of time.
Yeah, okay, great. So next we come on to the IWA Holdon vans and timber carriers. The order book on those is closed, but I'm sure you'd still be able to order them through retailers. You can see the different versions we're producing. Those again are in the final part of production, and we hope that those will be leaving the factory within the next month or so. After that, literally today, we have literally just received the first the only production samples of the Engage Eco Frets, which you can see in these boxes. That means that that's the final part of checking that everything is okay with the actual production models. So after we've done livery samples, we have a final check as part of the production process. That means that once we've approved those, which we'll do over the next day or so, it means that the factory knows that everything's okay, they can complete the production run, and those will be shipped to us very, very soon. Next project is the Class 313 and 314. Do you want to talk about that, Ben?
Yeah, so obviously development of those powered models has taken some time. We had a research trip down to Southern's depot at Brighton, where we were able to measure and have a good look around one of those units that are remaining in service on the south coast there. We've now just about signed off the CAD for those. We're pretty happy with how it's all looking. We have had lots of iterations to go through. So as we've explained previously, some models do take longer to develop than others. Those will be going into tooling very soon. I think we'll be opening the order book soon, won't we?
Yeah, yeah. We're probably within the next month or so. So after that, we come on to our Class A tank and the MTV Xander. We've got a sample of the MTV Xander. What we're expecting very, very shortly is livery samples of both the Class A tank and the MTV Xander. Assuming that those are okay, that point will allow us to set a production deadline. And so that'll be the point where we'll keep our order book open to that point and then close it so we can start production.
Yeah, with the decorated samples, I mean, 99 times out of 100, well, 9 times out of 10, they are absolutely fine, there's no problem. But every now and then, there might be a colour that's just not quite right, or there might be a marking that hasn't quite translated for whatever reason from the UK to China. So we always want to make sure we've seen and approved decorated samples before we go into actual full production.
The next project is the various versions of PFA, the 2-axle container flats. So we've got the original K-Woods yellow, then the British Fuels red. We're also doing some gypsum containers that are also fit on the same wagon. And then finally the sort of DRS low-level nuclear waste container. These are the livery samples. We're very happy with them, and the order book for those will close at the end of July. So if you don't want to miss out on our crowdfunded price, please don't forget to place your order by the end of July. After the PFAs, we've got the N-Gauge version of 975025, the Southern Region inspection saloon that's now named Caroline. That's currently in tooling following the double O gauge version. So once we'd finished all the CAD of the formula version, we then translated all those corrections into the N-Gauge CAD, which is why the N-Gauge tooling is slightly behind the double O gauge version. But we would expect to see samples of that probably within 2 to 3 months. After that, we've got the J&A MMA Elnos box wagons that we talked about in the previous video. Those are all at livery sample stage, and the next step for us will be to set a production deadline. Next is a project we're working on exclusively with Rails of Sheffield. So that's the Drax Biomass hoppers. Do you want to tell us a bit about those, Ben?
Yes, so what I've got here is not what you'd call a full decorated sample, because the underframe is very basic, it's just been sprayed black. The point of this is that these wagons, in particular the new versions, which have photographic vinyls on each side on the real thing, are obviously quite difficult to reproduce in N-Gauge, and so our factory said what we want to do is have a few different tries and try a few different systems, and we'll send you what we think are the best ones, and you can be sure that you're happy with them before we actually go to full decorated sample stage. And we are very happy with these. I think they look really good. There's just one tiny change you want to make. You want to change one of the shades of green on them, but that's easily enough to do and trivial. We've sent them all the correct Pantone references for that. So those will be at decorated sample stage, hopefully in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. And once that's done, then they will be going straight into production. But they are only available, of course, to pre-order from Rails of Sheffield.
Great. So we've got 2 relatively new projects to give you updates on. One is the Kartik IV that we announced a month or 2 ago. So we've been through a couple of iterations of CAD on that, and we're pretty much getting to the point where we're ready to sign off the CAD. As soon as we've done that, that will allow us to set the price, tell people exactly which versions we're doing, though we've already sort of outlined most of the versions, I think, and that will allow us to open the order book. So hopefully that shouldn't take much longer. The second one is a project that was actually supposed to be announced last week at the beginning of July. And actually got outed by an early publication, and that's the project that we're doing of the bow rails, which then followed on into air brake conversions into what became engineers' wagons, so mullets, pars, and lastly supertenches. So we've signed off the CAD of that, and actually we're very pleased with how that's gone. The design of that's gone very, very quickly and has allowed us to pretty much be ready to start tooling. The order book for those will open this week. And then the final thing to mention is last year we, on the back of Rail's and Accurascale's announcement that they were considering doing a Class 89, we asked if there was enough interest in Engage to do the 89 in Engage. We're pleased to say that we think there is, but obviously until there's more movement on the 4mm 89, we're sort of a bit in limbo until we can really know how best to take the 89 forward. So that's really a case of watch this space and also watch out for movement on the 4mm version, because that will almost certainly trigger the next stage for us. That only brings us on to sort of a bit of I suppose, teasers for you about what we've got coming in the future. Obviously, we've got a lot of projects announced, but you can never stand still. Development and research is a constant ongoing program for us, and so we're already working on a number of models that we've not announced yet, as you might expect, so that we've got a constant program going through the various stages of development. So we've got to a point with the Mark V project, with the engineering prototypes, that allows us to think, right, okay, we've still got a few bits to do on the Mark V, but largely it's mostly about assessing and checking now. So that's allowed us to think about our next range of coaches. So we've already identified what we want to do and started the research work on that. With the Class 1 to 8 going into tooling, that's allowed us to think about how we can use that same 64-foot chassis in another early design of DMU. With the 321 and the 320 being at the final stages of production, we're also thinking about how we can reuse that chassis again for another electric multiple unit. We're actually working on two different locos, one of which we kind of sort of leaked through the Engage Society, which is the Class 93 tri-mode. But we also got another loco in the final stages of development, which we hope to be able to announce in the next few weeks. And then finally, an exclusive for the Engage Forum exhibition is that alongside our run of Class A tanks and the Zander MTV box wagons, we're also going to rerun our Class B tanks. That was our first transition era model. If you remember, the difference between a Class A and a Class B is purely the length of the barrel. So we'll produce a run of the Class A's, which you can order from our website, but we'll also produce a second run of Class B tanks, which we're hoping will be available exclusively through retail. So watch out for that in the future.
And those Class B tanks, most of them will have, well, they have the same liveries that we did first time round, but where we do the same liveries, we'll make sure they have different running numbers.
Correct.
So you can build up a longer train if you've already got some and like them.
And that's pretty much it from us.
Pretty much it, yeah. So thanks very much indeed for letting us speak to you. Thanks very much for having us on the virtual exhibition, and we do look forward to seeing people then when we get back to real exhibition.
Yeah, hopefully in September at the Engage show.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly be there at the Engage show in September, so if you can make it, we'll see you then.